Sushruta for NEET is now available on the Google Play Store. Try it out for free.
Hi, my dear students. Hearty welcome to biology classes of JnanaMarga and your academy. I am Prof G.K Bhat to start a new chapter today, that is ecosystem. I hope you know what is ecosystem. Can anyone tell me what is ecosystem? In simple words, Aisha.
Yes, sir.
What is ecosystem? Do you know the meaning of this? Blessy?
Yes, sir.
What is the meaning of ecosystem? Any idea? Nadira? Vismita? Tanu Jayasri? Siddesh Sarvesh? Sarvottam? Namrata? Jyoti? Rakesh Prithvi? Lohit? Ecosystem means it is the word derived from what is called ecos means house. Ecology, I have already told you. What is that ecology? And that I have not told you.
Study of nature.
Study of houses. I have already told you. Last time you only have given me the meaning. Am I right? Who told about ecology? Ecology is the study of houses. Ecosystem is the study of such houses. Navya.
Yes, sir.
Navya. Who coined the term ecology?
Ernest Haeckel.
Ernst Haeckel. If Ernst Haeckel has coined the term ecology, it was Tansley, A.G. Tansley. Tansley has coined the term ecosystem. It was coined by A.G. Tansley. An ecosystem, I shall tell you, you can note down also. I shall give you a beautiful definition with regard to ecosystem. What is ecosystem? Have I given this definition? Namrata, any area of nature which includes living beings and non-living things which interact with each other to produce an exchange of material is called ecosystem. Have I told this definition? Diti, have I given this definition? Namrata?
Yes, sir.
I have given?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Again, I shall repeat. Who will repeat this definition? You can give the definition by seeing that, no problem. Who will tell the definition? Can you? Vismita? Have you taken on?
Yes, sir.
Tell me. Can you tell me?
Appreciated.
Loud. I can't hear you. Hello. Don't waste my time.
An ecosystem is a functional unit of a nature.
Oh, that is not the given. That is not given by me. I gave the definition. Lohit, can you recall that definition? Or Prati, can you recall? Have you taken on? Again, let me tell you. any area of nature. Come on, continue. Any area of nature which includes living being and non-living things. Any area of nature that includes living being and non-living things which interact with each other, to produce an exchange of material, is called ecosystem. This any area of nature can be as small as an aquarium, as big as an ocean, as big as a terrestrial ecosystem. Any area of nature which includes a living being, non-living things which interact with each other and produce an exchange of material. Now let me say, I am now here at my farmhouse. Nearby, nearly 1 kilometer around, no other houses are here. It is a farm. We have built a house in between, in the middle of the farm. In this area, any area of nature which includes a living being, yes, I am living being. I have different butterflies, birds, amphibians, snakes, etc., etc. Any area of nature which includes living being and non-living things, light, temperature, humidity. Any area of nature that includes living being and non-living thing, which exchange, or which have an exchange of material. Any area of nature that includes living beings and non-living things which interact. I take oxygen from the atmosphere. I give carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Gases exchange. Any area of nature that includes living being and non-living thing, for me, temperature, light, humidity, and wind, etc., are non-living things which interact with each other and produce an exchange of material. What is exchange? I give carbon dioxide out, I get oxygen in. Therefore, the area where I am living is an ecosystem. Agreed? This is the definition of the ecosystem. So, let us see what is given here. An ecosystem can be visualized or can be seen as a functional unit of nature. This is what you are expected to write. What is an ecosystem? It is a functional unit of nature where living organisms interact among themselves and also with the surrounding physical environment. So, what is there in your physical environment, Namrata?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, I didn't get the question.
Why? Why? I shall show you now. Yes. Who will answer this question? Blessy? Kenisa?
Yes, sir.
Answer my question. Charan? Chinmay? Duty? Fatima?
Yes, sir.
Answer my question.
There are books around me.
Siddesh? Pardon, Rafa?
There are trees, sir.
Then,
Trees.
is it? What was my question? Janani?
Physical things around you.
What is the physical thing around me? Physical
Are-
environment. What I said? Physical environment. Physical environment mainly includes, see here, living organisms interact among themselves and also with the surrounding physical environment. What it includes? Your physical environment. Rafa, your physical environment includes temperature, air, humidity, wind. Yeah, I know, plants. Okay, good. Ecosystem varies greatly in size from a small pond to a large forest or sea. So even a small pond is an ecosystem. We call it pond ecosystem. Forest is an ecosystem. We call it forest ecosystem. Sea is also a marine ecosystem. In this way, ecosystem greatly varies in size from a small pond to a large forest, sea, etc. Many ecologists regard the entire biosphere as a global ecosystem. Entire biosphere, Brahmanda, the whole biosphere, sphere with the life, biosphere. Many ecologists regard the entire biosphere as a global ecosystem, as a composite of all local ecosystems on Earth. As a composite of all. That means entire our biosphere is a global ecosystem which includes a terrestrial ecosystem, which includes aquatic ecosystem. In terrestrial ecosystem, we come across forest, desert, grassland, cropland, etc., etc. In the aquatic ecosystem, ocean or a marine, you come across inland ecosystems like a river, lakes, ponds, ditches, etc. Since this system is too big, too much big, which one? Biosphere. It is too much big and complex to be studied at one time. It is convenient to divide it into two basic categories. What we do, the biosphere, entire biosphere, the global ecosystem is mainly divided into terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. It is divided into terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem. Right? Look here. Forest, grassland, desert are some examples of terrestrial ecosystem. Pond, lake, wetland. Wetland means wherever water remains. Even your paddy cropland is also wetland. River, estuary are some examples of aquatic ecosystem. Crop field, aquarium are some of the examples for man-made ecosystem. Now, hurriedly, we shall go through the ecosystem, different ecosystems. I hope you can see here. These are the different types of ecosystem we have. Right? Forest ecosystem, grassland, deserts, pond ecosystem, lake ecosystem, river ecosystem, estuary ecosystem, where the river joins the ocean, cropland ecosystem, man-made pond ecosystem, aquarium ecosystem. Right? Now, I want one of you come forward and tell me in brief what you have studied so far. Come on. Anyone? I'll be waiting.
Sir,
Yes, come on.
sir, till now we have learned about definition of ecosystem
Hmm.
and the two categories, that is terrestrial and aquatic.
Hmm.
The terrestrial ecosystem are the examples of grasslands, forests, deserts.
Hmm.
Aquatic examples are ponds, lakes, wetlands.
Okay, Nadira, keep
And
it up. Very good. See, this is what I generally don't like amongst the students. When I have put it open and when I requested you to just tell, is it that you are all incapable of doing that? I wanted to just call Prati, your parents, Namrata, your parents. I just wanted to call and tell them, see, I have asked them to just repeat what I have taught just in the last 2 3 minutes. Namrata,
Yes, sir.
are you incapable of telling?
No, sir.
Then why you have not opened your mouth? Prithvi,
Yes, sir.
why you have not opened your mouth? Whenever we just tell like that, you must voluntarily come forward telling that, yes, I will try, sir. Let me try, sir. Why don't you tell that? Come on. This should be your approach. Would you please repeat whenever I ask like this? At least lift your hand, sir. I can. Would you?
Yes, sir.
Only one voice, same Nadira.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I
Yes, sir.
get Nadira said, yes. Don't make me to get angry. You should realize that why I am trying for this. Why repeatedly now and then I ask you to repeat, please let me know. Navya, why I am asking?
Sir, to know that whether we are paying attention to the class or not.
Then, if you don't answer, then I start getting doubt whether you are listening to me or not. I know. Kanisa many times just switches on and goes out. She will not be near this mobile phone.
No, sir.
No,
No, sir.
it is a telepathy. It is a telepathy. Do you promise that always, whenever I do the lecture, you will be sitting adherent to your system? Kanisa,
Yes, sir.
do you say that? Is it not
Sometimes I go for drinking water and all.
coming back here? Now, let us continue. Let us continue. We will first look at the structure of the ecosystem. In order to appreciate the input, that is the productivity of the ecosystem, transfer of energy, that is the food chain, food web, nutrient cycling, output, degradation, or energy loss. So, if at all you want to study ecosystem, what parameters we are going to study in an ecosystem? In order to understand ecosystem, we have to look into the productivity in an ecosystem, transfer of energy in an ecosystem, and energy loss in an ecosystem or degradation. We will also look at the relationships, cycle, chains, webs that are created as a result of this energy flow within the system and their interrelationship. Don't bother about much this and you will study now. Now let us study ecosystem structure and function. Janani, Kavita.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Kavita, Kavita, Kavita hasn't come. Kavita. So, right? One of the best way to study the ecosystem is leave the classroom, not now, get into a pond. Best way to study the ecosystem is to jump into the pond. After jumping into the pond, look what is there around. Charan, Siddesh, whenever I used to teach ecosystem in the colleges, I never used to teach ecosystem in the classroom. I used to take the students nearby pond, sit there near the pond, go with all the microscope and other table, chair, etc., and study the ecosystem by actually looking into the real condition in the ecosystem. Now let us see what is that. Why? That's the best method. In order to study the ecosystem, you select any small ecosystem that you have nearby. Any ecosystem will help you. Need not be even pond. Even you can select a small cropland. In the last chapter, you have looked at the various components of an environment, abiotic and biotic. You know, abiotic component includes non-living component. Biotic component includes living component, which includes the producers, consumers, decomposers. You studied how the individual biotic and abiotic factors affect each other and their surroundings in the last chapter. Let us look at these components in a more integrated manner and see how the energy flow takes place within these components of the ecosystem. And interaction of biotic and abiotic components result in a physical structure that is characteristic for each type of ecosystem. I said, best example to study the ecosystem is the pond. Now, if at all I ask you the question, Blessy, what is a pond?
A water body, sir.
Sushruta, what is a pond? Vishwas.
Water
What is
place, sir.
Yeah,
Small amount of water will be stored.
Vishwas, what is a pond? Prati, what is a pond? Vishwas, you are not there?
Yeah.
Prati, what is a pond?
A place where will be less water than the lake, sir.
Koda.
Hello, who is that? Who is that girl? Who is that girl?
Savitri sir. Koda.
It is?
Koda.
Hey, what is a pond? Rakesh?
Ecosystem.
Yeah, that is true. What is a pond? Aisha?
Stagnant water.
Namrata?
Stagnant fresh water, sir.
Diti?
Sir, a place where water is there like in less quantity.
Always we say that pond is a mass of water. You all said pond is a mass of water. Pond is a water. Remember, pond is a mass of water for a layman. Who is layman? Who has no knowledge about biology. Pond is not a mass of water. Pond is not only a mass of water. Pond is a mass of water with both living and non-living things. Pond is a mass of water with both abiotic and biotic factors. And it is these abiotic and biotic factors make the pond what it is. As I said, pond is not a simple mass of water. Siddesh, have you seen any pond? Natural pond?
Yes, sir.
Navya, have you seen any natural pond?
Yes, sir.
Fatima, have you seen any natural pond?
Yes, sir.
Since how many years you have seen? Since how many years you are seeing the same pond? Anyone? Since how many years you are seeing the same pond? I am sure you are all in now. You are all in sweet 16. You are living on this earth successfully for the last 16 years. I am sure that you have been seeing one or the other pond throughout your life. Am I right? Tanusri, Jayasri, Umasri, Savitri.
Yes, sir.
Since how long you are seeing? Since how long you are seeing the same pond? 5 years? 10 years? 15 years? More than that? Come on. Navya, Namrata, Jyoti, Harshavardhan is not there. Come on, since how long you are seeing one particular pond? You are not seeing that pond at all? You can't say that I am seeing this for 5 years, sir, I am seeing this for 7 years, sir, I am seeing this for 10 years, sir.
7 years.
Okay, come on. Who is this?
7 years, sir.
Who?
Savitri.
Savitri is seeing a pond for 7 years. Savitri,
Yes,
what
sir.
you have seen in that pond? Have you seen any fishes? Have you seen any vegetation? Have you seen any plants? Have you seen any frog? Have you seen any snake? What you have seen in that or nothing?
Small fishes and grass,
Small fishes, grasses and all.
water, frog.
Okay. Now you tell me, it is there in your land? Is that pond is there in your land?
Yes,
Is
sir.
it there in your crop land, agriculture land, or it is outside your agriculture land, somewhere on the way?
Outside the village, sir.
Outside the village. Is it that anyone used to go there, take a fertilizer and dump it into the pond and take some nutrients, some vegetables, some eatables and give it to the animals there?
No, sir.
Then who is taking care of that pond? Blessing, Aisha, Kanisa. If at all you all have seen one or the other pond, is it that you are taking any special pond? We are taking any special care about the pond? Sharon, Rakesh, are we taking
No,
any
sir.
special care for that pond?
No, sir.
No. No. In that pond, you see that abiotic component is there, biotic component is there. Abiotic component includes temperature, light, humidity, water, soil, etc., etc. Biotic components includes all these microorganisms, so that the plankton, zooplankton, so small fishes, big fishes, frogs, snakes, turtles, etc., etc. Interaction of these biotic and abiotic components result in a physical structure that is characteristic of each type of ecosystem. Right? Identification and enumeration, numbering. How many numbers of plants are there? How many numbers of animals are there? Identification and enumeration of plant and animal species of an ecosystem gives its species composition. Now, if at all I ask you, what species are there in that pond? First of all, you have to know whether fish is there, amphibians there, frog or snakes are there, turtle is there, bird is there. So you first identify them. Then you count the number. Oh, that pond, mom, do you know that pond has hundreds of birds? Mom, today I went there, that pond has one big turtle. So you are going to identify. You are going to enumerate the plant and animal species of an ecosystem. It tells you about the species composition. What species are there? That gives you. Vertical distribution of different species occupying different level is called stratification. Vertical distribution. If you do go to forest, you see the tall trees. That is one strata. You will see a little bit of medium-sized trees, shrubs, another strata. You will see small plants, herb. This is what is called vertical distribution, vertical stratification. Vertical distribution of different species occupying different level is called stratification. In a forest, tree occupy top vertical strata, shrub occupy middle, and herb occupy the lower strata. Trees occupy top vertical strata or layer of the forest. Shrubs are the second, and herbs and grasses occupy the bottom layer. So in the same way, if at all you look into the pond, there will be some creature on the surface of water. Some aquatic animals will be there in the middle of the water. There will be some aquatic animals at the bottom of the pond water. Benthic forms, column forms. Then you come across surface living forms. So now we are going to look into the components of the ecosystem. The components of the ecosystem are seen to function as a unit when you consider the following aspects. What is most important in any ecosystem? Whether it's the grassland ecosystem, forest ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem, terrestrial ecosystem, in any ecosystem, following four parameters should be there. And if at all you study these four parameters, it will give you an idea how that ecosystem functions. Wherever you go, whether you are getting into the pond, whether you are going to study this river, or whether you are going to study the lake, we are going to look into first productivity, 2 energy flow and nutrient cycle, 3 decomposition, 4 decomposition. These are the 4 important aspects that we are going to look into in any ecosystem. If you look into these 4 aspects, productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycling, it enables you to understand that ecosystem fully. Understood? Now, what are these 4 aspects? Kavi, Kavita, Kavi.
Yes, sir.
Come on, tell me what is the answer to my question?
Yes, sir.
Please answer my question. Janani,
Sir, productivity, decomposition, nutrient cycle, energy flow.
Kavita,
Yes, sir.
Kavita.
Yes, sir.
When I was explaining that point, you were not here in the classroom. That is where you go wrong. I make it a point always you should listen the lecture with full concentration. I am going to ask like this in my classes. Namrata,
Yes, sir.
when I asked you the last time to you question, the same thing happened with you. You are thinking something different. Whatever Kavita is doing now. Right? Rakesh,
Yes, sir.
what I asked? What was the question I had put?
The components of the ecosystem.
I asked 4 aspects of ecosystem. Kavita, attend the class with full concentration. No, if you look into these 4 of the aspects, productivity, decomposition, energy flow, nutrient cycling, it enables us to study any ecosystem in complete depth. To understand the ethos of an ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem, let us take a small pond as an example. I said, what you said about the pond? Most of you, almost all of you have just told me that pond is a mass of water, sir. None of you have mentioned pond is a mass of water, a pond is a water body. None of you have told that it is a water body with the living and non-living things. Am I right? Namrata? Am I right? Did you tell that?
No, sir.
No. None of you have told me that it is a pond, is a mass of water with the living and non-living thing. Is it not that a pond is a mass of water with the biotic and abiotic component? Kanisa? Aisha? Let's see. Fatima?
Yes, sir.
Lamia?
Yes, sir.
First of all, you have to remember, as a student of biology, you should not just give as an ordinary person. Pond is a mass of water. Pond is a water body. Pond is not only a water body. Pond is a water body with the living and non-living things. Remember, it is these living and non-living things make pond what it is. These abiotic and biotic components make the pond what it is. It is not a simple pond, it's a mass of water. And more than that, pond is a self-sustainable unit. It is a self-sustainable unit. It is a self-managed unit. That is why I ask you, Savitri, are you going to dump fertilizer to the pond? Are you going to put food to the pond? You are neither giving any nutrients to the producer there, and you are not giving any food to the consumer there. You will never take care of the plants there. You will never take care of the animals there. And it is the small, look here, Savitri is saying it's a pond for the past 7 years. For the 7 years, the pond which Savitri is speaking, it is growing, it is taking care of itself without dependent on Savitri or Satyavan. It is not dependent on anybody else. A pond is a self-sustainable unit. This is a fairly self-sustainable unit. So what is meant by sustainable unit? A sustainable unit is one which takes care of its own, which takes care on its own. Am I right? Kanisa, am I right? Is it not that in nature a pond is maintained on its own? Is it that someone is going to maintain it?
No, sir.
Are you understanding my point, Blessing?
Yes, sir.
Are you understanding my point, Rafa?
Yes, sir.
Sarvata? Siddesh?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is what is most important. A pond is not maintained by anybody else. Pond is getting maintained on its own. This is fairly a self-sustainable unit, and a rather simple example that explains you the complex interaction that exists in an aquatic ecosystem. Lohit, by just studying a pond as an ecosystem, just studying pond as an example for ecosystem, we can imagine what is taking place in the ocean. Are you understanding my point, Lohit?
Yes, sir.
Yes? Okay. So now let us study how this interacts, how this works. A pond is a shallow water body. What do you mean by shallow water body? What do you mean by shallow water body? A pond is a shallow water body. What is that, Sharan? What is that, Chinmayi? Shallow water body. Come on.
It's not too deep.
Not too deep. Is it the Navya's voice?
Bless you, sir.
Let's see. Pond is a shallow water. A shallow water is the one where the light penetrates up to the bottom. Where the light penetrates up to the bottom is always called a shallow water. You can see the bottom. If at all you are in a position to see the bottom of any particular water body, that water is shallow water. Because of the light penetration only you can see the bottom. Otherwise, how you can see the bottom? A pond is a shallow water body in which all the above mentioned 4 basic components of an ecosystem are well exhibited. All 4 basic components of ecosystem are well exhibited. Tanusri, come on, what are these 4 basic components? What are these 4 basic components which I have just mentioned earlier as the 4 aspects? What are these 4 basic components? Tanusri.
Productivity, decomposition,
Forgot.
energy flow,
Huh? Decomposition.
nutrient cycle,
Then
productivity,
Jayasri. Huh?
sir, productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycle.
Nutrient cycling and energy flow. You got it from the book? Tanusri? Tanusri?
No,
Charan, what is happening with you? So these 4 basic components of an ecosystem are well exhibited. The abiotic component is the water. In a pond ecosystem, the abiotic component is the water with all the dissolved inorganic organic substances and the rich soil deposit at the bottom of the pond. This is the abiotic component. Water, dissolved inorganic organic substances, and rich soil at the bottom. Not only that much, the solar input. What is that? Light. The cycle of temperature, more or less. Day length and other climatic conditions regulate the rate of function of the entire pond. Your pond is lying like this in the open. It is very much influenced by light rays. What is it? Solar input. Very much influenced by the cycle of temperature. The temperature is different in the morning hours, during midday, when there is a scorching sunlight from above, and different at evening time and at the night time. Cycle of temperature, day length, and other climatic conditions. Even your winter, summer has its own influence on the climate. These are the climate conditions on the water of the pond. All these regulate, control the rate of function of the entire pond. So Siddesh, it is not as we think pond is a water body, that's all. Pond is not only a water body, it is a water body, the abiotic and biotic component. It is a water body where the abiotic components play such an important role, and that all control the functioning of the pond. Understood? 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 Is it that now also you tell them pond is a water body? Such a great pond. Such a beautiful pond. In the eyes of a layman, in the eyes of an ordinary man, it is a depression with water. But in the eyes of a biologist, it is a sample of the entire global ecosystem. Sample of the entire global ecosystem. Then don't you think that if you study pond ecosystem, it is as good as studying the entire global ecosystem? Understood? Clear? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now with this idea, we shall now look into. What are the autotrophy component? We are looking into biotic component, abiotic component. What are the autotrophy component? The autotrophy component, which is in a position to synthesize the food on its own, the autotrophy component include phytoplankton, some algae, floating, submerged, and marginal plants found at the edges. As Savitri has noticed, you see that as Savitri has noticed, you see that in a pond, you do come across not only water with the grass. She said that pond is with the grass. Pond is with the grass. Pond is with the grass, not only grass. Pond is with the grass and other plants. There are so many other plants. Savitri.
Yes, sir.
You go to your place, not only see that the plant from distance, go nearby that and search what type of plants are there. It is not only with the grass. You do come across there some floating plants are there, submerged plants are there, marginal plants are there. And apart from that, you see some you cannot see. What is that? Phytoplankton. What is the phytoplankton? Namia, what is phytoplankton? What is phytoplankton? Namia? What is phytoplankton? What here? You have studied this ecosystem and all in your colleges. Blessy, would you please bless me? What is phytoplankton? Aisha?
Food source, sir.
Huh?
Food source for all the fishes and
No. Rafa?
Yes,
Fatima?
sir.
Yeah? Yeah?
Plants, sir.
What is phytoplankton? I understand.
Yes.
Fatima used in her
Microscopic
common sense.
plants, sir.
Plants are. What is the plankton? Fatima, what is plankton?
Small plants, sir.
Is it that for the first time I am telling you about a plankton? I have not used this term of plankton at all earlier. Who will tell me? Nadira, Vismita, Tanusi, Jayasri, Savitri.
Food producer.
No. Planktons are microscopic floating organisms. If they belong to plant kingdom, they are called phytoplankton. If they belong to animal kingdom, they are called zooplankton. Now, autotrophic components include the phytoplankton, that is the floating, free-floating microorganisms. Microscopic free-floating plants are called phytoplankton. Rafa, Blessy.
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
Microscopic free-floating animals are called zooplankton. They simply float in the surface of the water. And the autotrophic component include phytoplankton, some algae, and the floating, submerged, and marginal plants found at the edges. The consumers are, what are the consumers? The one whom consume. What are the producer? The one who produce. One who produce the cinema, he is a cinema producer. One who produce the food, they are the plants. So in the pond ecosystem, producers are the plants. The consumers are represented by the zooplankton, the free swimming and bottom dwelling forms. The consumers are represented by the zooplankton. What is the zooplankton? Microscopic floating animals. And free swimming and bottom dwelling forms. In this free swimming, your fishes come. Your whatever aquatic insects which freely swim at the surface, they come. And bottom dwelling forms, the one which live at the bottom. What is this bottom dwelling forms in one word called? You have another word for this. You have two words. The one for whichever that is floats on the surface. The one whichever always at the bottom. What are these two terms? Anyone? I'll give the star, 2 star. What do you call the one which always float in the surface?
Algae.
Pardon? Pardon? The one which always floats in the surface, they are called pelagic forms. Pelagic forms, which is always keeps floating on the surface. The one which always found at the bottom, they are called what? Benthic forms. Benthic forms are bottom living forms. Pelagic forms are the surface living forms, which always live at the surface of the water. So the consumers are represented by zooplankton, the free swimming. Here all you come across free swimming one, and the bottom living forms, benthic forms. The decomposers are the fungi, bacteria, flagellates, especially abundant in the bottom of the pond. Fungi, bacteria are the major decomposers in the ecosystem. Are the major decomposers of the ecosystem. Understood? Clear? Clear? Namrata? Diti?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now we shall jump to the pond. We shall jump to a pond. Ready? Right? This is the diagrammatic sketch of a pond. Diagrammatic sketch of a pond, one of the most famous picture. If you look at any classical textbook on ecology, reference book on ecology, this figure is there. This diagram is there. And here it indicates you come across phytoplankton, which swims at the surface. And of course, phytoplankton you cannot see the naked eye. And you have zooplankton also just dependent on phytoplankton. You can see that some of the plants which are rooted and submerged at the edges. There are some plants which are completely submerged. There are some plants which are floating. There are some organisms which are floating. There are some organisms at the bottom also. And along with that, you come across the decomposers like bacteria and fungi. Right? So this is a classical diagram of the diagrammatic sketch of the pond showing abiotic and biotic components. Same thing, another diagram. One more, because you want always color. Right? Yeah. This system performs all the functions of an ecosystem. This system, what is that system? What we said about system? Producers, consumers, decomposers. Producers, consumers, decomposers. We have studied about the different biotic component. After studying the abiotic component, we have looked at the biotic component. These are the biotic component. Right? So this system performs all the functions of any ecosystem and of the biosphere as a whole. Whatever you see in the pond, it is happening in the whole biosphere. That is the conversion of inorganic into organic material. Who does it? The autotrophs, the producers, the plants. The plants convert to this, of course, converts from inorganic to organic material with the help of radiant energy, solar energy by the autotrophs. When the autotrophs are, what is the meaning of the autotroph? Autotrophs, self-nourishing. They nourish themselves. Autotrophs, self-nourishing. You have, in contrast to this, heterotrophs, others nourishing. Others nourishing. Others nourishing. Duty, are you an autotroph or heterotroph?
Sir, heterotroph.
Heterotroph. So plants are the only autotrophs. So the plants convert inorganic substance into organic material with the help of radiant energy of the sun. Consumption of the autotrophs by heterotrophs. Whatever consumption of autotrophs by heterotrophs. You know, lot of consumers They feed on plants. Directly they feed on plants. Consumption of the autotrophs by heterotrophs. Decomposition and mineralization of the dead matter. Whenever these autotrophs and heterotrophs die, their body undergoes decomposition, and mineralization of the dead matter to release them back for the reuse by the autotroph. And these events are repeated over and over again. I repeat this again. If you go to any pond ecosystem, if you go to any ecosystem, whether you take it to pond ecosystem, whether you take it to grassland ecosystem, whether you take it to forest ecosystem, in any ecosystem, you come across these four components. What are they? Producers, consumers. Three components, let me say that. Producers, consumers, and decomposers among a biotic component. So, whenever these autotrophs come into picture, autotrophs are invariably plants which have green chlorophyll. These autotrophs, with the help of chlorophyll, trap the solar energy, convert it into food energy. Autotrophs, they synthesize the food on their own. Whatever these food energy is produced by these stored by these plants, heterotrophs, we consumers, they feed on that. Whenever these autotrophs and heterotrophs die, their body undergoes decomposition with the help of bacteria and fungi. So, the organic matter present in the cell in the protoplasm is released, it is converted into inorganic matter, and this inorganic matter goes into the soil as minerals, mineral nutrients, and these mineral nutrients are absorbed by the autotrophs. Again, they synthesize organic matter, and that organic matter we consume, and in this way, you do come across these to repeat producers, consumers, decomposers. They just play their own role in their own way. And during this, always you see unidirectional flow of energy. There is unidirectional movement of energy from the bottom to the higher topic level, from the producer to the consumer. And it's a dissipation and loss as heat to the environment. So that aspect we are going to study again separately. Understood? Is it clear? Any doubt you have? Anyone has any doubt?
No, sir.
Is it clear? Is it becoming more and more boring? No answer. No answer. I know why. Why? Why no answer? Siddesh? Why no answer, Vishwas? Why no answer, Namia? Why no answer, Prithviraj? Prithviraj?
Yes, sir.
Why there is no answer? What is the question I asked?
Is it becoming boring?
You don't have the answer? You can't say. No, sir, it is not boring. I know, you can't say. But, sir, it is interesting. Am I right? Kanisa? Kanisa?
Yes, sir.
Am I right?
No, sir.
What is that no?
It is not boring.
It should be boring. If at all you don't say boring, you are cheating yourself. Am I right? Blessy?
Yes, sir.
What is right? What is yes?
It's kind of boring, sir.
Kanisa? Kanisa?
Yes, sir.
It is not like that for you. Don't cheat yourself. Okay? Ecology is like that. Of course. Coming to productivity. A constant input of solar energy is the basic requirement for any ecosystem to function and sustain. If there is no solar energy, if there is no light energy from the sun, gone, finished. Finished. Even if at all you fail to get the solar energy for a fraction of a minute, it's over. A constant input of solar energy is a basic requirement for any ecosystem to function and sustain. Always, every ecosystem requires energy radiating from the sun. Now, primary production is defined as the amount of biomass or organic matter produced per unit area over a time period by plants during photosynthesis. Now, we are going to study about the productivity producer. Who are the producer? Savita, Savitri, Savitri.
Yes, sir.
Who are the producer?
One who produces.
Pardon?
Produces.
Who are the producer? Who is the producer?
Plants.
Plants. Thank God you did not ask which cinema, sir. So plants are the producer. And as far as the productivity is concerned, we do have different terminologies like a primary productivity, secondary productivity, gross productivity, net productivity. The primary production is, or primary productivity is the amount of biomass or organic matter or the food that is prepared by the plants per unit area over a time period. This is what is called primary productivity. Primary productivity is the amount of the organic matter produced by the plants during a particular time period in a particular unit area. Understood? That is what is referred as the primary production. It is expressed in terms of weight or gram. What is that? Gram
Per meter square.
per meter square. Or energy, kilocalories per meter square. Is it a gram per meter square? Is it? Is it a gm to the power of -2? Is gram per meter square? Blessy?
Don't know, sir.
Navya? Diti? Gm to the power of -2. Energy, kilocalories per meter square. So please remember, primary productivity is expressed in terms of weight. Gram to the power of -2. Or energy, kilocalories meter square. The rate of biomass production is called productivity. The rate of biomass production is called productivity. It is expressed in terms of gm to the power of -2 per year or kilocalories per meter square per year to compare the productivity of different ecosystems. These terminologies are very important. So, the primary productivity, whatever is produced by the plant, is divided into gross primary productivity, GPP, and net primary productivity, NPP. What is the difference between the two? We are going to see the difference between the two. Remember, what is productivity? Productivity is what produced by the plants, whatever that is produced by the plants during a particular period of time in a particular area. This primary productivity is of two types, gross primary productivity and net primary productivity. What is gross primary productivity? Whatever that is produced by the plant in total is the gross primary productivity. Gross primary productivity of an ecosystem is the rate of production of organic matter during photosynthesis. Whatever these plants produce in an area at a particular time, over a particular time period, all that is produced by the plant is known as gross primary productivity. But you know, whenever the plants produce the food, is it that they are not making use of some of the food for their own growth? Is it not that they make use of that for their own activities? Yes, a considerable amount of GPP is utilized by plants in respiration. That means for their own purpose. What is respiration? Energy liberating process. What is energy liberation? During energy liberating process, whatever the stored food is there, that is oxidized. And as a result of which we get carbon dioxide and also we get the energy release. A considerable amount of GPP is utilized by plants in respiration, and the rest of that is stored in the plant. So gross primary productivity minus respiratory loss is net primary productivity, NPP. GPP minus R is equal to NPP. That is what is stored in the plants in the form of leaf, in the form of root, in the form of fruit, in the form of flower. And that we get when we eat that particular part. So I repeat again, whatever is produced by the plant is called productivity. Whatever that is produced by the plant, all that plant that is produced by the plant is also called gross primary productivity. Out of this, some part of this energy is utilized by the plants for their own purpose, growth and all. The rest of that is stored in one or the other parts of the plant. Gross primary productivity minus respiratory loss is equal to net primary productivity. It is the net primary productivity that is stored in the plant, and this net primary productivity is available to the consumer when they feed upon that. Net primary productivity is the available biomass for the consumption to heterotrophs, herbivores, decomposers, etc. So you have heard about primary productivity. In that you have heard about gross primary productivity, net primary productivity. You do come across now another term what is called secondary productivity. Secondary productivity is defined as the rate of formation of new organic matter in the consumer. That means whenever you eat some plant, whatever that enters into your body, that is a secondary productivity. You are not producing it. You got it by eating the plants. So secondary productivity is defined as the rate of formation of organic matter, new organic matter by consumer. So whatever net productivity is there in the plant, that is available for the consumer to make use, and whenever it enters into the body of the consumer, we call it a secondary productivity. Are you understanding my point? Are you understanding my point? Is it clear or no?
Yes, sir.
No? Who will recall and tell me? I'm checking the attendance. Aisha? Please answer attendance, Aisha.
Yes, sir.
Let's see.
Yes, sir.
Yanisa?
Yes, sir.
Rafa?
Yes, sir.
Janani?
Yes, sir.
Kavita?
Yes, sir.
Navya?
Yes, sir.
Visvita?
Yes, sir.
Nadira?
Yes, sir.
Anusri?
Yes, sir.
Jayasri?
Yes, sir.
Savitri?
Yes, sir.
Jyoti?
Yes, sir.
Namrata?
Yes, sir.
Rakesh, Prathviraj,
Yes, sir.
Lohit,
Yes, sir.
Karan, Chinmay, Charan, Chinmay, Harshvardhan, Harshvardhan, Sarvesh, Sarvottam,
Yes, sir.
Nitesh,
Yes, sir.
Vishwas,
Yes, sir.
Karan, Chinmay,
He is speaking, sir, but it is not hearing to us.
who?
Chinmay, sir.
What is he doing?
He is here only, sir.
Then why is not giving answer?
Sir, I am saying, sir, it is not taking.
Charan is there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, come on, tell me. I have asked you some question. Who is responding to that? Please. Answer my question. Namrata,
Yes, sir.
come on.
Productivity. First, we learnt about primary production
Hmm?
and how it is expressed in terms of weight and energy. And rate of biomass production is productivity. It can be further divided into gross primary production and net primary productivity. Some amount of GPP is utilized. Equation
Don't
is
simply read that.
GPP minus.
No. I have doubt. My own doubt whether you understood or not. Who will tell me what is gross primary productivity? Gross primary productivity is what produced by the plants in total is gross primary productivity. Whatever the plants spend for their own growth, for their own activities, and whatever that remains later, that is net primary productivity. Gross primary productivity minus respiratory loss, net primary productivity. This net primary productivity is available for the net level of biotech component consumers. Where the consumers feed on the plants, whatever net primary productivity is there, that passes to the consumer. So for consumer, it is secondary productivity. I hope you understand. So we have here gross primary productivity, net primary productivity. Primary productivity depends on the plant species in a particular area. It is also depends on a variety of environmental factors. Primary productivity is what that is produced by the plant. And whatever that is produced total by the plant is always referred to as a gross primary productivity. Gross it is. And in that, some amount of energy is lost for the plants for themselves. And this energy they obtain through respiration. So gross primary productivity minus the respiratory loss is equal to net primary productivity. Net primary productivity is the energy that is available to the net level in the ecosystem. So primary productivity also depends on a variety of environmental factors, availability of the nutrients, and photosynthetic capacity of plants. Therefore, it varies in different types of ecosystem. Look here, right? I will take up this point. 1 minute, one chapter. Yes, okay. Look here. The annual net primary productivity of the whole biosphere is approximately 170 billion ton. This is very important. The annual net primary productivity, that's whatever primary productivity that's shown by the plants, after whatever they spent for themselves, whatever that's produced, the annual net primary productivity, whatever that's stored in the plants, the annual net primary productivity of the whole biosphere is approximately 130 billion ton dry weight. Of organic matter. Of this, the of these, despite occupying 70% of the surface of this, the sea has so much and the land has so much. Even though the sea occupies 70% of the land mass, the productivity of the ocean is only 55 billion tons. The rest of that is by the land. 170 minus 55, that is the primary productivity by the land. So primary productivity on the land is more than the productivity in the ocean. The productivity of the ocean, sorry, not primary, the net primary productivity of the ocean is only 55 billion, even though the sea covers 70% of the earth surface. Okay, so that's all, and we are going to take up the decomposition in our next class. Okay, any doubt you have?